Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bullion, Bitcoin, and Bullshit channel with G Money. We're doing a special episode today for 11/11, and we're just going to sit back and talk about a couple interesting connections. We're going to discuss covert comms, JFK, 11/11, and Bitcoin. So stick with me here, and let's see if you find this interesting. All right, so first off, I want to start with a tweet from Elon Musk called The Guns of August. Okay. And if you're familiar with this book, this was basically a book that talked about the setup for World War One. Okay. He tweeted this at 1:10 on August 23rd, 2021. And real quickly, let's just talk about what The Guns of August is. So The Guns of August was a book that talked about the lead up to World War One and all the different financial things that were going on. If you haven't read this book, I recommend it. It's got some very similar, things to what's happening now with Corona. Okay, so there's some interesting financial stuff going on with inflation, GDP, and central banking. Okay, this was an interesting article. It talks about the bankers in World War One, but basically talked about the national debts of the world increased by about 210 billion or 475% leading up to the war, and that basically every soldier that died in battle was basically $10,000 to the bankers. And it's how they basically enslaved many of the countries and helped the central banks take over governments, basically setting up the new world order back during World War One, actually. So this talks about the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, all that stuff. So I recommend you guys kind of read through this. But we're going to kind of get through this pretty quickly today. I didn't mean to take up a ton of time. So what is 11/11? 11/11 is Armistice Day, and that is because we commemorate it. It's actually Veterans Day as well, correct, right? And it marks the armistice, the peace signed between the allies of World War One and Germany. So they ceased hostilities on the western front of World War One, which took place at 11 in the morning on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. Okay, so just some 11/11 history for you there. Veterans Day talks about why we celebrate it. We're celebrating Veterans Day today, and we thank all that serve and have paid the ultimate price to protect our country. Okay, let's keep going on here and talk about George Patton. Just a kind of a side note, he was actually born on 11/11, which I thought was kind of cool. Trump did refer to him quite a few times, and I just wanted to point that out real quick. Okay, so we're getting into some other stuff with 11/11. Executive Order 11/11-0. Well, we've talked about this before. This was JFK's executive order, basically issuing currency without interest attached to it. And, we know what happened to him on 11/22, actually. So he was executed. He was assassinated on 11/22, many say because of possible this action. So some of the first things that brought me into some of these connections was not actually any of this executive order stuff or any even the World War One stuff, but it's actually MicroStrategy. And you may say, well, why did MicroStrategy bring you to this conclusion of 11/11 and stuff tied to Bitcoin? Well, something interesting happened is Michael Saylor was the first public company to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And he did something weird. They bought an initial 17,000 Bitcoin approximately. And then they doubled down and loaded up with some more Bitcoin on September 14th. And what happened was they spent $425 million on 38,250 Bitcoins. Okay, well, you may say, well, what's the big deal about that? That doesn't really make, who cares? They spent a bunch of money on Bitcoin. Yeah, that's true. However, the average price tag of their initial Bitcoin purchase was $11,111.11. And I thought that was odd. I mean, that must have been done on purpose. Why would you make it such an exact number like that. So, anyways, I started digging, and lo and behold, when Bitcoin hit 22,000, we have Jack Dorsey tweeting 11 plus 11. Okay, so again, just these references to Bitcoin. When Bitcoin hit 22,000, Jack posted 1111, and we know Jack has Bitcoin in his profile, and he's setting up the Lightning Network with Blue Sky. Okay, so it's interesting. Back to Elon Musk. Actually, something funny happened today with Elon. So he actually sold 1.1 billion shares. Okay, so 1.1 billion shares. And he exercised nearly 2.2 million shares of Tesla. So 1.1 billion worth, 2.2 million shares, which is kind of funny. 2.2, 22, 11, 11, 1.1 billion. There's some synchronicity going on there. So let's look at some other Elon tweets. We've got another Elon tweet here. He tweeted on 12/22, in retrospect, it was inevitable. Okay. And when he tweeted that, he had updated his profile on Twitter to put Bitcoin inside there. Okay. He removed it, but back then, 12/22 or 22 could also be split into two, 11/11, about Bitcoin being inevitable. So I thought that was an interesting tweet. Okay. So again, what does this all have to do with 11/11? Well, interesting, Mr. Michael Flynn. Okay, General Flynn. So General Flynn tweeted about Bitcoin on February 1st, 2015. This is a military general that worked for the NSA and the Department, or the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is kind of odd that he would tweet this. He tweeted back in 2015. He doesn't have a Twitter account anymore. So anyways, I followed Michael Flynn around, and come to behold, he was the commander of the 111th Military Intelligence Brigade at the Army Intelligence Center. Okay, so we've got Michael Flynn with some weird 11/11 connections to Bitcoin. This talks about his number of days in office. He was sworn in on January 22nd, 2017, and guess what? He served 22 days in office. 22 days on January 22nd. Okay, so that's not that weird, I guess. I don't know, 22 days could be 11/11. Okay, then we have Trump pardoning Flynn on November 25th, 2020. And you may say, well, he pardoned him. Okay, what's the big deal? Well, if you calculate the number of days between 11/11/17 and the day he was pardoned, you get a result of 1,000 and 1,100 days. So again, I don't know what this all means. I just know that there's some weird stuff going on with 11/11. And let's continue. We did have a McAfee tweet on November 11th, 2019, before he whacked himself. Talked about Epstein didn't kill himself, and that Schwack that was supposed to go live on the Ethereum blockchain with all the different images and stuff that never was actually released. So we don't know if that's actually going to come out or what. But anyways, it's interesting. Here's a Paris Hilton tweet, 11/11, make a wish. And right after that, she tweeted about Tom Brady adding Bitcoin laser eyes and becoming, a Bitcoiner. So this is make a wish to the moon, I would imagine. Okay. 11/11, and then she welcomes Brady with this. Here's another interesting one. Brian Brooks, remember the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency? Well, he liked this tweet, and as you can see, there's an 11/11 in here. I mean, it is all just ones and zeros. Could be just a coincidence, I guess. So anyways, I'm just following some of these data points. War Games. You ever seen the movie War Games? Well, there's a clip on YouTube, and the 11/11 clip talks about the only winning move is basically not to play. So it says, greetings, Professor Falcon. Hello, a strange game. The only winning move is not to play. How about a nice game of chess? So a lot of people talk about Bitcoin and the game theory aspect of it. and how possibly the only winning move for the central bankers was not to play. The problem is they're greedy. So they played, and now we're in the middle of this war with Bitcoin and the bankers in some respects. Okay? Let's keep going. This is the actual article that Flynn tweeted back on February 1st. It talks about Bitcoin and the digital currency revolution. Okay, so there's an article here. Again, I link all my stuff in the YouTube video. And now we're going to talk about Bitcoin. So for those that do not know, Bitcoin is based on the secure hash algorithm called SHA-256. Okay, 256. Well, we all know what 5 plus 6 is 11. I don't know, 2 times 5 plus 6, 11, 11. Again, this is just some weird coincidences. I don't know. But the National Security Agency, okay, was the group that came up with SHA-256. Okay, so take it for what you will. But some of the math behind Bitcoin talks about SHA-256 and how we're looking at basically strings of a hash function that create messages and make it basically unhackable. So it can't be reversed. Bitcoin transactions are basically wrapped in military technology by using the SHA-256 algorithm. So there's some more information on how that works. Again, ones and zeros and stuff, but there's some interesting stuff here if you want to read more about it. I encourage it. And here we have 9 trillion printed in 2020, 22% of the circulating USD, possibly an 1111 connection there. So anyways, guys, this is just a fun one. I wanted to do it especially for 1111. I've got some funny, weird digs that go into 1111, and it's just kind of fun to talk about. I don't know if there's anything here or not. I'm just kind of leaving that up to you. So, but New Age believers often think 1111 is to chance or coincidence. It is an example of synchronicity. For example, those who are seeing 1111 on a clock often claim it's an auspicious sign or signaling of a spirit presence. I don't know, guys. I'd love to see the comments on what you guys think of this video, but funny enough, my parents were married on 11/11 at 11 in the morning, which is weird in itself. But one other thing, I don't link to it here, but the DoD routers for the IP address 1111.18. So the IP address 1111.18 is actually goes to the Department of Defense, which is another interesting thing. But anyways, guys, have a great Veterans Day. Happy 11/11, and enjoy the weekend. I'll be out of town in Miami, being at the Disruptors Market Disruptors Conference with Mark Moss, and we'll be back next week. All right, take care. Bye-bye.